Hello, I'm Lisa and welcome to Oxwide. Coming up in today's programme, we meet with Jesca Gudza, one of our looked after children's nurses, who's also the founder and chair of Zimbabwean Nurses UK, an amazing group of nurses she set up to support other nurses who've come from Zimbabwe to work in the UK and who may need help settling in and getting to know a new country. We talk vaccine news and important changes to legislation that will affect many of our staff with Fadipe and Jane Wells. And finally, James Woollard explains more about the new national survey, which is seeking clinicians' experiences of using electronic patient record systems. But before we show our main films, here's a quick message from our Interim Chief Executive, Ifya Kocha.
Hello, Ifya Kocha here. I have a very brief but special request for you this week. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most in my new role is the opportunity to meet with colleagues across Oxley's. I think it's one of the most important parts of my job and I want to be visiting our services as much as I possibly can. So please get in touch, invite me to come and spend some time with you and your team. I'd love to hear from you.
So moving on to our first film, where we talk to the very inspirational Jesca Gudza about the Zimbabwean Nurses UK group that she founded to help fellow nurses settle in after having left home in Zimbabwe to work as a nurse in the UK. Welcome, Jesca. Thanks for joining us. So we're here to talk about the Zimbabwean Nurses UK, which is a group that you founded and you actually chair. So could you tell us a little bit about the group and what it does?
Thank you, Lisa, for inviting me. The group was founded in March 2020 following the pandemic, and we felt that it was important to have a nurses union that we can actually raise the concerns for the nurses locally and at national level. We have had groups that we would support each other, but we never used to be able to raise our concerns to a level that people could hear us. And this was really on the when we noted that they were looking to recruit over 50,000 nurses. And we also noted that there were over 2,700 nurses who had come into the UK. They are all scattered everywhere, but we didn't know each other. We didn't know how they were being supported, if they were having any issues. So that was the reason why this group was formulated. And within that time, we then were able to apply for a grant within the Florence Nightingale Foundation, and we were able to get that grant. And the grant was to support it was for pastoral care. And we've been able to use that grant to do a few things. As we're a new group, we needed to make sure that we've got the support that we needed to do a website, get information out, draw out a few things. So it was really a grant to be able to support the association to start moving on. And it's been really effective. And within that, the Zimbabwean Nurses is a voice, to be honest, for the Zimbabwean nurses in the UK. We also work with the midwives and healthcare support workers because they are also underrepresented within the UK. We've got 3 pillars that we are working with, which is the pastoral care, health and well-being, and professional support. For pastoral support, we just make sure that we signpost people to different places if they need any help. Like when they enter the country, they may need to know where they buy the food that they like. Sometimes when you enter into a country, you find that your palate is still very much about what you know best. So when I came into the country, which is over 27 years ago, I couldn't find my native food, which is sadza, which is maize meal. So we resorted to ground rice, but it was never the same. So those are the little things that you think, if I find my own people, signpost them to the right place to buy the right meat, the right food that will just get you going and get you started. The drinks, one thing that I found difficult was the drink. The drinks here are so different from the Zimbabwean drinks. So
what's the difference?
I don't know. They're just different because we have raspberry cream soda, but it's a diluting juice, but it's just different. So the nearest thing that is almost nearest to that is Vimto. But it also takes time for you to just get used to that drink and enjoy it. So those are the things that we thought that's really important. And really, when you're having issues or when you're not getting support at work, speaking to someone from your own country who've been there, who know the system, can actually help you to maybe refocus and also think actually it's not as bad as I think it is.
So it's really a group then that some of the group's purpose is the simple things. So your food and drink that you might like, where to get the things that you're used to, but also learning from people who've been in the UK longer than you and they're more established and they can advise and help you if you just come over from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And make you feel a bit more at home and settled. It's a really nice idea then. And you said about 2,700 nurses have come over.
Yes.
Out of the 50,000 since the pandemic, is that?
This was only last year when we looked at the NMC register. Only last year, 2,780 something came from Zimbabwe.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. It's a big number. And we've seen more has come in since, this year. More are coming in and we are getting to meet them as well. And trusts are actually recruiting direct from Zimbabwe. And there are agencies as well that are recruiting direct from Zimbabwe. So we really are working with the new nurses coming into the country and just signposting. So we also, with this professional support, we have got a mentoring system going on. And we've got within Zimbabwe, we've got quite a lot of our nurses that have got really high posts. We've got chief nurses, we've got CEOs. So we're really looking forward to supporting our nurses. Most of the nurses, when they come into the UK, they start on a band 5. But when you look at their career before they came here, they were also running a unit. They were running a hospital, but they started at a lower band. So how can we help them to progress faster into their career than to remain where they are? So those are this, some of the mentoring will come in and just gear them to the right where they need to get to.
That's great. That sounds really, really good in terms of the career development as well. So if people are interested, if anyone at Oxley's, for example, is Zimbabwean and they're interested in becoming part of the group, how do they do that? Where do they contact?
We've got a website, Zimna, UK website. They can find us there. We have also got a telephone number, which is 07909 836 117, which is my number, and we can always give them information. We are also on Facebook. If they just look up Zimna, and that will all be there. And there's a team of us. There's 5 of us within the team, so any one of us will be able to make contact with them. We are also planning Black History Month. On the 16th of October, we've got an event for Black History, Zimna Black History, and we'll be focusing on our nurses, looking at the nurses who initially came into the UK and what nursing was like for them, and some of them have gone back to Zimbabwe and what it is like for them.
Okay, that's lovely. Thanks very much for joining us, Jesca. Sounds like a great group, and we wish you all the best with that in the future.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you.
Special thanks to Jesca for bringing nurses from Zimbabwe together to support one another, a workforce we're extremely grateful to for coming to work with us in the NHS. Now on to our second film, where we catch up with Abby and Jane to talk latest vaccine news, as well as some important new legislation coming into effect very soon that will affect how some of our staff are able to work. Let's hear what they had to say. So welcome, Abby and Jane. Thanks for joining us. And we're here to talk about the latest vaccine news and what's happening. So it's right that we want all of our staff to be double vaccinated. So can you tell us why that's so important?
I suppose the first thing is that the vaccination gives you protection from getting a severe form of the coronavirus. It also protects the people you work with and friends and family. So that will be one of the first reasons why we'll say it's important that people get their vaccines.
And soon there are going to be some new regulations coming in with regard to care homes, Jane, aren't there? And how does that work? Can you tell us a bit more about that and how it will impact staff?
Yeah, from the 11th of November, none of our staff, whatever role, will be able to go into any care home to provide care unless they can demonstrate that they have had the double vaccination, so 2 COVID vaccinations. And this means that the latest they can get their first dose is the 16th of September. So anybody who needs to go into a care home to do their role will need to get vaccinated by that date and book for the vaccination if they still haven't had it on the national booking system.
So that's the last date for that would be the 16th of September. Otherwise, by the 11th of November, you can't do your job if it impacts.
You won't be double vaccinated in time.
Okay. So, and that obviously that will mean that. So how will that work? Then some staff will obviously have to cover those that can't go into the care home. So that puts more pressure on those that have been double vaccinated.
Well, we know that 86% of our frontline staff have been vaccinated. Most of them have had 2 vaccinations. So teams will need to establish who won't be able to go into the care homes, those people who aren't vaccinated with 2 vaccines, and establish how they're going to carry out their activities and roles to make sure that the patients still get the care they need.
Okay. And is it also correct that if you're not double jabbed from now, new recruits won't be taken on at Oxley's? Is that the case, or is that just those visiting care homes? How does that work?
No, that will be for our frontline clinicians. We will expect people that are going to be working with patients who we're just employing to be double vaccinated. That will be the minimum expectation. Those of us who are frontline clinicians know that we've had to do this periodically. Hepatitis B, anybody who works as a frontline clinician will have to have their hepatitis B vaccination, and the COVID vaccination would be the same.
So can you tell us a little bit about I've heard about the NHS COVID pass. What exactly is that? Why do you need it, and how do you get it?
The NHS pass is a way of you proving that you have been double vaccinated, and the easiest way to get it is to download the NHS app onto your phone. It's very straightforward. It's a free app, and you just then click on and ask for your COVID pass, and it will show when you had your first and your second doses, and you can use that as proof that you have been double vaccinated.
And are there any exemptions at all? So if people have sort of medical conditions that mean that they can't have the vaccine for some reason, there are some exemptions, but they're few and far between. Is that right?
Yeah, there are relatively few exemptions. The risk of the complications arising from a COVID infection outweigh the risks of most problems that people may experience. There's really one key exemption within the Green Book, which is the immunisation book full of the guidance around all immunisations, and that's if you've had a previous anaphylactic reaction to one of the components of a vaccine. It's very rare, but if people are worried, they need to speak to their specialist service, their consultant, in respect of their own conditions.
If people want to find out more about how to get the vaccine, or who they can speak to if they have any concerns, what should they do?
Well, the Oxley's intranet has a wealth of information, and they have studies which, in response to other questions that people have posed previously, and they're the name of 4 contacts on there if you wanted to speak to them. I'm one of them, Jane's one of them. Anytime, even if we can't get back to you immediately, we will call you. And I have spoken to people who were hesitant to take the vaccines, and we do understand that people have different reasons, and we're not here to judge. We're just here to speak to people and try to understand what their concerns are and see if we can address them in any way.
So Jane and Abby, thanks very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you to Abby and Jane. And remember, if you have any questions about the vaccine or you're hesitant in any way, you can talk directly to Abby or Jane in confidence. They really are here to help and support you. Finally, we have a short film from James Woollard where he reminds us about the national survey seeking clinicians' experiences of using electronic patient record systems and the difference you can make if you complete the survey. Over to James to tell us more.
Hi everyone, I'm James Woollard. I'm one of the consultant child and adolescent psychiatrists in the Trust, as well as being the Chief Clinical Information Officer for the Trust. And that means I work with our digital data and technology teams to think about how we best use technology to deliver high quality, safe and effective care for our patients. And that's why I'm here to talk to you today, because there's a national survey that's being launched that wants to collect staff experience on using those electronic systems such as Rio and how that impacts on our ability to deliver care. So let me tell you a bit more about this important survey and why we need you to spend a few minutes completing it. The survey is being run by NHSX, which is the organisation that thinks about how we best use technology to deliver healthcare services in the NHS. And it's being run across all ambulance, mental health and community trusts. So both our mental health and community colleagues need to take part in this survey. And it's looking at how our staff experience the use of the electronic systems that we have. So in Oxley's, that might be Rio, it might be IAPTIS in our IAP services, or it might be Vision and EMIS in some of our community health services. And in the survey, they often talk about this word usability. And usability is just a word that means how easy is it to use these systems to do the thing that you need to do. And that's something that I'd like to tell you a bit more about, because it's really important to think about usability of systems and what impact that has on our ability to deliver care. So why is usability important? We spend a lot of time during our working day using these electronic systems to do tasks on a routine basis. Might be updating a progress note, might be updating a care plan, adding to a risk assessment, writing a letter or uploading a letter, booking an appointment if you work in an administrative role. These tasks and how easy they are to do can have a big impact not only on the quality of care, so if recording that information about that patient is difficult to do, you don't know where to put it, then it can be very difficult to do that in a good way, which means subsequently it might be more difficult for somebody else to make a decision or find that information to then make a decision. So it can impact on the quality of care we deliver. Also, it can impact on the safety, and we've seen this before in other incidents where our ability to use the system and record information in the right place, perhaps for example like a risk assessment, has impacted on our ability to deliver safe care. And we know from America and other countries that staff well-being can be significantly impacted by their frustration or sense of stress in having to do these tasks routinely over and over again in a system that doesn't quite work for them. So it's really important that we think about the usability of the systems. When we get the usability right, it can have a really positive impact on safety, effectiveness and staff experience. What are we doing in Oxley's about usability already? In Oxley's, over the last 6 years, we've already been able to make changes to Rio since we moved to a new version, and you and your team may have worked with Rena Jamieson and her colleagues in the Rio transformation team to think about how to better use Rio to record and share information with others to improve the quality of care that you're able to offer. And we would like to continue to do this. I think my mantra is that let's make it easy for you to do the right thing. Let's put some prompts in the system that help you remember those things about quality or safety of care that are super important, such as positive practice prompts, and we've been having some conversations about that recently in the clinical effectiveness group about how we embed positive practice prompts in a system like Rio. We can also think about things in terms of reducing the burden of audit and assurance. If we record it in the right way in a highly usable system, then that data's in the system and it can be easily extracted. So if we get the usability right, it can have a number of impacts, and we continue to work on that in Oxley's. What will happen as a result of this survey? We're hoping, both at a national level and on an organisational level, that we get lots of responses to this survey. If we get lots of responses, then we'll be able to have a really good picture of how our organisation is performing against, in terms of usability of the systems we have, against others. So we can benchmark ourselves, we can learn from others, and also NHSX can think about what support we might need or others might need in terms of improving that usability. And there's a clear plan to repeat this survey in subsequent years. So what NHSX are looking for is that we see a clear improvement from your results from this year to next year. So we will be coming back to you to ask you to take this survey again, and hopefully we can show some improvement, and you will feel that improvement as well on a daily basis using our systems. What I hope to be able to do in future is come back to you and present the results of the usability survey, tell you a little bit more about what they mean and what we're going to do about them. So improving these systems can't just be the job of the transformation team. We need your eyes and your ideas to help us think about how to improve the usability of the systems that you have to work with every day. And this survey is an opportunity to do that. So we'd like you and as many of your colleagues to complete the survey over the next week. We've got until the 10th of September to get our responses in. So we'd really like you to spend some time, should take about 8 minutes, over the next week completing this survey. Now it is important, and you will be seeing prompts in the trust communication. Perhaps when you log in you might see a screensaver that prompts you to do the survey. It's only going to be for the next week, so really do spend 8 minutes or so completing the survey and telling us your ideas and concerns about usability of the electronic systems such as Rio. The link to the survey is available on the Ox homepage. You should see an item on the news carousel at the top of the page, and that will allow you to click through. You may have been sent the link by your clinical director or by your team manager in the last week, and so go and find that in your email and look for it there. If you have any questions about the survey, please do get in touch with me. More than happy to have a chat about any of the issues I've talked about in this video, and my email is james.woollard, that's WOOLLARD1@nhs.net. So do get in touch with me. And just to finish by saying thank you very much for those small number of people who've already completed the survey. Do go and tell your colleagues to complete it also, and a big thank you in advance for all of those colleagues, thousands of colleagues who are now going to fill it in over the next week. Thank you very much, and look forward to coming back and telling you about those results.
Special thanks to James Woollard for talking to us about the Electronic Patient Record System, or EPRS as some of you may know it, and how important it is that our clinical staff tell us how they find it by completing the national survey before the 10th of September. That's all we have time for this week. A big thank you to everyone who took part today, and do remember, if you'd like us to come and visit you and showcase what your team does on future Oxwides, please let us know and we'll arrange something with you. So until next time, goodbye.